Hey everyone, JagTagger93 here with another Doom WOD review. This one is called The Last Experiment by Krzysztof Kietlinski. I apologize if I mispronounced that. There's a link to his gameplay in the WOD in the description below. Now this map is a very recent release, having come out in January this year, 2018. The author recommends playing this on Xandronum with dynamic lighting on, which, as you can see, I did not do. I didn't read that until after I completed getting gameplay footage for this review. Now I will undoubtedly play it again, but mostly for fun. The game, as you can see here, is running on GZ Doom, and it still looks beautiful in my opinion. This is one of the more realistic, immersive realism-based type structures I've played in some time. The enemy placement is very cunning, very sneaky, and serves as a constant reminder to the player to keep frosty and check those dark corners. Very often you will walk into a room, there'll be an item right in front of you, it would be very tempting to dart for the item, but you just know there will be enemies in the corners to either side to pick you off as soon as you run by them. Also keep an eye out for any open windows as well. Enemies will usually be behind those. Usually a soldier type or an imp type enemy. In this WOD you'll be facing tougher incarnations of pinkies, imps, cacodemons, and soldiers. And there's a few other surprises as well. Fortunately, your arsenal has gotten a modest upgrade, and when I say modest, I mean modest. There's nothing too crazy here for you to use, but it's very helpful. For example, the chain gun now sports a considerably faster rate of fire. The pistol does too. The item placement, as with the enemy placement, is also done very well and with care. Now the map has a very bizarre symmetry to it, and this symmetry doesn't really become apparent to the player until about midway through. Up until then, this map feels like a confusing mess to navigate. However, once it starts to click, you realize this map definitely has logic to its structure, and there is a definite method of progression to it. What prevents this method of progression from being immediately apparent, though, is the difficult to spot switches, and there are a lot of switches in this map. Some of them are pretty obvious, a lot of them look like the switches we know and love, while others can be easily unnoticed and mistaken as a simple texture. And a few of the switches need to be tripped by gunfire before the player can progress, so one really needs to keep their eyes peeled here. If there's a suspicious looking panel, try shooting it or hitting it. You'll be doing a lot of wall banging. In fact, in my playthrough of this map, it took me over 40 minutes, and I'd say a good 15 to 20 minutes of it I was grunting on walls, backtracking, all to find switches just so I can progress and know where to go next. The map screen isn't too much of a help either, because it's one of those huge maps with many rooms, many corridors, so if you look at your map, it just looks like a splat. So now the new textures look great, but they unintentionally obscure some of the switches, especially in the heat of combat. Sometimes I'll go into a room and I have a lot of ammunition and there's enemies there, a lot of them, and I just want to go in, flip the switch or get the key, whatever it is, and get out, but no, the nature of this map dictates, or demands actually, that you pay careful attention, check those corners, look up, look high, look low, leave no stone unturned, just so you can find those switches. Still, as I said before, this map does look really nice, and the player's efforts to interact with panels will often go rewarded. Typically, when you have custom textures in a base type structure, you'll see panels, but they're just decoration. Here, a lot of them are actually switches, which if you know that ahead of time, hopefully it'll spare you some of the aggravation that I went through. Now this WOD also has custom music, which is a nice touch. It sounds nice, but I'm very not really a fan of it. It's very dramatic and orchestral, which I think would be more fitting for a hell type map or a hell type environment, or like a gothic type environment, not a military base as we see here. Still, I appreciate the effort. And I understand that my criticism of the music here is really much more a matter of personal preference, and I'm not really actually criticizing the music itself. Well, some people might actually really enjoy it and like it. Now there was one glitch or bug I encountered while playing. It was really surprising to find it, considering the amount of polish and care that went into this WOD. In the room with the plasma rifle, the door closed behind me and I was stuck. I cannot leave the room without using the no-clip console command cheat. In any other map, this would be just a mild annoyance, but here it was really frustrating. Let me explain. This map, again, going with the obscure switches, it comes across and with some of the puzzles is a bit cryptic. So when the door closed behind me and I couldn't figure out a way to get out, I thought it had to be another puzzle. So I was wall grunting, wall banging, wall shooting, trying to get out. I shot the floors, I shot the ceiling, jumped on all the crates, nothing. Wasted a lot of ammunition and a lot of time trying to get out of this room before I just said, screw it. And I no-clipped out of there. Uh, Again, really, really disappointing that this would be in this WAD because this WAD has a lot of care put into it. Now, the ending was anticlimactic, but it had a good build-up. Let me explain. The author does a very good job signaling to the player that the end of the map is very close by using the standard classic tropes of level design, like opening up that one last door in the hub area, the appearance of more outdoor areas after being inside for most of the map, new and harder enemies, and more of them, and other tricks to signal to the player that the end is coming. So I was really psyched to see what this big battle at the end was going to be. So I'm running and gunning, going switch to switch, through door to door, corridor to corridor, uh, steel grate to steel grate, and then I trip another switch, and then the level just abruptly ended. I was not expecting that. And it really felt abrupt. The switch I hit really seemed like how it was placed, and the progression up to it really felt like it would just be a switch to open a larger door. I also remembered earlier in the map too, there were a series of yellow doors that I never actually went through to complete the level. I guess they're just there to, serve as an incentive for replay value or, you know. But yeah, despite that ending and despite the glitch, and despite some of the hard to spot switches, this is still a map that I definitely enjoyed. It's obvious work was put into it, a lot of work. The README file says it took 2 months to complete, and I would not be surprised if it actually said 4 months. Again, it looks great, looks even better if you run it in Zandronum, I bet. Um, the architecture is very realistic, very immersive. A lot of the panels, and again, I was whining about how a lot of switches are hard to spot, and I stick by that to some degree. But also, too, a lot of the switches do actually look like actual panels, and I've been conditioned through, you know, playing WADs and maps that have custom textures, kind of ignore new and bizarre-looking panels, because usually they're just decoration. Here, that's not the case. So, but yeah. This map is overall pretty solid. I rate The Last Experiment an 8 out of 10. It is a very good WAD, and I recommend people play it during a very chill and lazy weekend afternoon. Thank you everyone for watching. This is Jag Taggart 93 signing out. Have a good one.